Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. At some point, we've all heard that churches are 501c3, right? According to 26 USC 501. Let's take that a little bit further. And when you begin to look at the tax transcripts of these churches, and you begin to look at the application they sent to the secretary, which is one of the requirements of how to create a 501c3. There's an application that has to be filled out. You begin to realize that some of these entities are not necessarily what people think they are. There are about 7 different types of churches when it comes to tax purposes, as defined by the IRS. The 2 most common ones for the purpose of grants are the ones that you would generally hear about, which is 501c3, and the other ones that falls under mandatory exceptions that don't necessarily require the formal application of a 501c3. We're going to put the latter to the side and speak about the initial one that a lot of people already know about. These 501c3 corporations called churches so-and-so. In furtherance of the fact that they're 501c3, just a little quick tidbit. They are also classified as private organizations. 26 U.S.C. subsection 508. Special rules with respect to section 501c3 organizations, plural. Meaning there are different types of 501c3 entities. And there are certain circumstances that applies to them. Most people, unbeknownst to them, the churches they attend, you can actually get a copy of the tax paperwork of all these churches that you attend to see where and how your so-called monies are really being spent. Sure, donations are not taxable, but that donation has to be up to a specific amount, like $5,000 if there's a 501c3. Think of a mega church or even a regular church. Within a year, they do get more than $5,000 worth of donation. But let's trace back a little bit first. Exemptions. Letter B. Any organization which is not a private foundation, as defined in section 509A, and the gross receipt of which in each taxable year are normally not more than $5,000. So what is a private foundation? Private foundation, for the purpose of this title, the term private foundation means a domestic or foreign organization described in section 501c3, other than things like hospital and entities that provide medical care, like the Shriner Hospital, an organization, the principal purpose or function of which are the providing of medical or hospital care or medical education or medical research if the organization is a hospital, or if the organization is a medical research organization directly engaged in a continuous activity conducted medical blah blah blah. So if it's a medical entity and it's a 501c3, it is not considered a private foundation. So what is considered a private foundation? Remember, we're speaking of churches now. One of the types of churches, according to IRS code, when it comes to taxation purposes. 2 tells you an organization which normally receives more than 1/3 of its support in each taxable year from any combination of gifts, grant, contribution, or membership fees. These are the exceptions to what private foundation is. Then if any of these apply, it is not a private foundation. If any of these does not apply, it is in fact a private foundation. Normally receives gifts and contribution from members, where more than 1/3 of its support, gift, contribution, and membership fees, and all the amounts that's been received, aka receipts, admissions, through service, through sales of merchandise, through furnishing facilities, or activities under the trade of business of whatever they put their description is not greater than $5,000, or 1% of the organization's support from persons with respect to organization from other entities like 508, 501c3. Meaning if another church supports another church, they consider only 1% of it. But if it's just from other activities, if they make more than 5,000, they are considered private foundation. Remember, we started off here in 508, 26 USC 508. Special rules with respect to section 501c3 organizations. It lets you know here about the different types of churches that exist. And then it went into specificities as to the fact that one of those 501c3 entities are considered private foundation. And the qualification of what considers a church as a private foundation is in 509A, which is this right here. And 509A tells you that it's not a private foundation if it's for medical purpose or if it receives more than $5,000 of income in a year, or if its income is based on support from other churches, which are these sections right here. 26 USC 170 and so on and so forth, which talks about charitable organizations right here. If another church receives more than 1% of its support from another charitable organization, or if it makes more than $5,000 a year, it is automatically classified as a private foundation. So all these churches people go to, let's evolve past the fact that they are 501c3. Let's move forward. And let's start considering the type of activity that actually goes on in there. Because these churches definitely make more than $5,000 a year. You can look at their tax receipts. It's there. It's freely openly available to the public. Did you know that? And if they make more than $5,000 or get more than 1% of the organization's support from other charitable entities, they are classified as a private foundation. When you start to look deep into things, you realize 100% of all these churches out here are classified for taxable purposes as private foundation. You know the reason why these people can get away with certain things that's bad? Screw your wife, rape your daughter, do some ridiculous stuff. This is one of the reasons. And it's out there in your face. They are private. They are functioning privately. What qualifies them to be functioning privately is based on the amount they earn on the capacity of being a church, quote unquote. You know the reason why they can do this? This is just a further effect or a reflection of a religious right that they have. This is one of the reasons why. So on a religious constitutional level, they can invoke the Bible to justify certain things. On a financial and commercial level, they can invoke the tax code to justify certain things. It's in plain sight, right there. Attention to details is important. Most churches, if not all, are classified as private foundations. Are there other types of churches? Yeah, there are. 3 of them are mentioned in 508 and 501 of 26 USC. The rest are scattered. Just a little food for thought. Yeah, we know churches are 501c3. But take it a step further. Take it a step further by looking at their tax return and their receipts. And based on that, you will see that they qualify wholly as something called a private foundation. based on 26 USC 509A. And they are wholeheartedly engaging in private contracts with the IRS. Remember, in the past we went over the fact that the IRS manual has expired after a specific year. And so the only thing that's now applicable is the rights and obligation of contract according to your state and federal constitution. The only way that can be done is privately. And your churches are doing it. And all the loopholes are incentivized into the verbiage of the tax code itself. This is not even the worst. There's a lot more stuff written into these tax codes that directly benefits them. See, all this discharge people want to do, the 1099s, all that. You know, the IRS code incentivizes private foundations when it comes to discharge, and them actually just getting tens of thousands of dollars of check back every year. And even more, you will hear several representatives of entities tell you, oh yeah, we're a non-profit organization, blah blah blah, we're holding a march for this, or we're holding a fundraiser for this and that. And you know, all these people you hear that are always quick to tell you about, oh, we're a 501c3, this and that we're holding a fundraiser. When they tell you that, do you know that there are incentives within these IRS code that each and every man that comes there and attends as a head count can be used specifically when it comes to taxation? Whenever they tell you, oh yeah, I sold a book and then I'm donating it to a fundraiser, a non-profit fundraiser, you know, each of the people who bought those books can be used as head count when it comes to those fundraisers because they contributed, right? Private foundations. There's a lot more that goes on in plain sight that people tell you right in front of you, and he just goes right past you. There's a lot more to what goes on every day around you than what meets the eyes. The least of your worries is that tax exempt status of that church and the fact that they're not sharing it with you. There's a lot more going on based on the head count of its members. And every congregation you go to, Sundays, Wednesday, whatever you go there, that's considered trust minutes. And there are verbiage within the IRS codes for private foundations that based on those trust minutes of each of those congregations and those head counts, they can incentivize that as tax write-off and get some checks back. Did you know that? Let's not get stuck on the rudimentary stuff. Let's focus on the details of it and really comprehend the functional aspect of what really goes on in your daily life and how you yourself are contributing to making someone else more wealthy. Look, wealth is good, but at least know how you're participating in it. For instance, things like banking. People don't even know that other people get wealthy by using their money that they put in banks. That's another story for another day. Take care and best of luck. Hey, and also don't forget to join my Patreon if you haven't. There I go through documents that I have used personally successfully and videos that I do not post here on YouTube that are in many ways private in nature. And also I go through live audio interactions and video interaction of my own experience with certain things. And I also have a website where you can go through a list of documents or services if you need them. And these videos that are posted on YouTube are also uploaded on Anchor. You can listen to it via audio means. And there's an Instagram page and a Facebook page. The link is on the screen and in the description. Take care and best of luck.